Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome to episode 313. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is still out on assignment. I think he's somewhere else other than Brazil, but I'm not sure if it's on a beach somewhere, but he's moving around the continent, but he's on the move. We'll put it that way. And so we have another adjunct professor today, Brandon King, representing Tennessee State. And it's going to make sure we get some insight on that side of the yard to see what's going on over there and break down some other games with us. We'll do the first part of the show. Yeah, I was actually on the call with him earlier, OVC. So young guy, putting in work, doing writing for HBCU Go. So I wanted to make sure that he got a little piece of the action and had him welcome to the team. So Charles, you can give him the appropriate welcome. It just look like you ready to haze him over there. My goodness.
Hazing? Oh my goodness. No hazing. We are a non-hazing affiliated show, Dr. Cavil.
I like that. I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure. So Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Dr. Cavil. I appreciate you actually inviting me on today.
It's our pleasure. Our pleasure. Welcome to episode 313 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, as in today, Brandon King, as I said, writer for the HBCU Go TV network, as well as Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios in the sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU is sponsored by THC Agency. THC Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that being said, I have some sad news that we need to make sure that we announce and pay the appropriate homage to, which is former WNBA star, Wiley College coach Tiffany Jackson passes away. This is according to HBCUGameDay.com. And HBCU Sports talked about the fact that she had a fight with breast cancer. Wiley College is mourning the passing of head women's basketball coach, former WNBA player Tiffany Jackson. Coach Jackson joined the Wiley College family as head coach in April of 2022 and was preparing for the first Wildcat season. We're extremely saddened at the passing of Coach Jackson. She was an incredible light to our students, an amazing member of Wiley College family. Her dedication to Wiley College was evident in how she interacted with students in her community. She'll be sorely missed. We're praying for her family and her friends, said President and CEO Herman J. Felton Jr. Jackson had a decorated professional playing career. She was drafted 5th overall, played 12 years of professional basketball, including 9 with the WNBA. Obviously, in her college career, she played at the University of Texas. So she stayed home in Texas to coach the Wiley College. She helped the Longhorns to 83 wins during her span and the Sweet 16 berth in 2003 and 04. But again, we're talking about losing Tiffany Jackson. Wiley College is mourning the loss of that. With that, that asks us to give a moment of silence before we get back into it.
Because I screamed and pushed him away from me. His face looked so creepy, and I didn't have time to react in words.
As we jump in here, since this is coming from Prairie View, I won't even ask y'all to do it. I'll let y'all get into some of the accolades in terms of SWAC Players of the Year, MEAC Players of the Year, and then maybe some other thoughts you had. But there's a change at the top of the PA Athletics Department. As the statement reads, John Gardner, named Interim Athletic Director at PVAMU. I have a picture, so we'll bring a picture up for those that may not have known about John Gardner. He actually is a colleague of mine. I've known him coming in mathematics as he kind of pushed me to go get my master's and ultimately get a doctorate, even though it was outside of mathematics. And that was slightly before he was. Dr. Holmes was a colleague of his over there, a student with him when he was at U of H working on the doctorate over there. But Donald Reed, that's Dr. Donald Reed, Director of Athletics, will no longer be continuing in that position effective immediately. I'm writing to inform you of our plans to ensure appropriate oversight and leadership of athletics over the coming months. Needless to say, we will immediately undertake a national search for our outstanding Director of Athletics to succeed Mr. Reed, Dr. Reed. In the meantime, the following measures have been taken to assure the effective ongoing operations of the department. Interim Director, I have asked John Gardner, Chair of the Athletics Council and Assistant Vice President for Student Success, to step in as Interim Director until the next director is available to start. One of our most seasoned and respected administrators, John has served in numerous roles at Prairie View and is very knowledgeable about the mission of athletics and the challenges that our coaches and athletics face. Also bringing in a consultant, acknowledge the breadth of activities and needs of the department. I've asked Fred Newhouse to serve as a consultant to the director, coaches, and staff during this period. Most are familiar with the fact that he won Olympic gold and several medals in the Montreal Olympics. He remains involved in track and field competition and headed to 2000 USA men's team in the Sydney Olympics. Some may not be aware that he's a Hall of Fame inductee, also had a remarkable management career. She's going to do a climate survey, will be initiated a climate survey to gain detailed information and perspective about the issues that continue to impede the success of the department. Finance operations will get involved with CFO Cynthia Carter Horn will continue to provide guidance to athletics administration and staff on the budget and operational matters. We understand that significant improvements are needed to ensure that administration, game operation, purchasing, NCAA compliance, and the proper care and safety of our athletes are addressed in the most appropriate and time manner. I ask now that you give Interim Director John Gardner, Fred Newhouse, and Cynthia Carter Horn your support as they engage with the most pressing issues before athletics. We all want to be the best athletes, and legacy of Prairie View A&M athletics join hands, ensure a smooth transition. We can stay on course to see that our amazing team have another outstanding year of competition. My understanding when you talk about this, and that's a picture of John, as I said, I know John Gardner, very sharp guy, so if anybody can help in the transition, he certainly can get it done. But with that being said, she went on the news when I see President Simmons, and talked about one of the final straws of her having to make this decision, as many people may not have been aware of, is when the team went to go to Alabama State, Montgomery to play that game, that they got to the airport and there was no flight. They had to wait for 5 hours to get that taken care of. And there's some other things, and it seems like that was one of the final straws that really concerned Simmons, because she expressed that out there, a myriad of some other things, which surprised. I've worked with Dr. Donald Reed and tried to provide, my consulting expertise, and it seemed some things were going through, but obviously not to be. So did want to kind of get that on the table. But you can tell with so many different pieces that there is some undercurrents about athletics that are making a lot of people uncomfortable. Quietly, I think Prairie View has done a pretty good job of stressing their concerns on this, but not necessarily pushing, the social media, public angles. So a lot of people are just not aware of that. So it's fascinating to see that. I guess with that being said, it'd be fair to come in and give you a chance to comment. Pretty significant news, particularly this time of the season. Team is 3-0 conference play, 3-2 overall. Soccer team is having some trouble. You heard about the golf coach getting hired, not being hired, things of that nature, and things here and there. Well, what are your thoughts of this announcement, Charles?
I think when you take a look at it, this is pretty significant. When you have an in-season move like this, removing the athletic director, obviously there have been some internal issues there that I guess a lot of people are not aware of. From the outside looking in, Prairie View Athletics looks healthy in terms of basketball team doing what they're doing, football team having a successful fall thus far, but. Obviously, there are some concerns there, and when you have an incident like the airport incident happened, those are no-goes. So understandable in terms of when they move in a different direction. Hopefully, Prairie View Athletics can find firm footing with whomever comes in and takes over on a permanent basis.
Brandon, your chance, I guess, the hot seat. You didn't know you were coming into something like this. We didn't either until the news broke. I've had this news for about 3 weeks. I understood that this was pretty imminent and serious because there were some other things that were going on. I chose that until they released it, that I would hold on to it and try to work through the process. But now it's out there. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely anytime you see someone of that level getting moved, it does come as a surprise, and with everything that's coming out, you can it kind of gives us a look under the hood of what was some of the things that was going on at Prairie View, because just like you touched on, just at a superficial level, looking at things look like they were rolling in the right direction, and we'll come to find out that that's certainly not the case. And anytime when you're scheduling, when you have a sports team, your preeminent sports team, and certain things are not taken care of, that's a horrible look.
Yeah,
that borders on dereliction of duty. So, I mean, if that's what's going on, then he kind of painted himself into that corner, it seems.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll be able to tell his side of the story, so it may be different. But while he's doing it, y'all talking about, let me pick up this phone and see if I can get this call. Ashley Robinson on line one. Ashley Robinson. Yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, yes, it has been a change in Prairie View. Are you interested? Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. I don't want to say this in front of everybody. Don't answer that yet. Make sure we don't want the trouble over there.
Understood.
Oh, sorry, Charles. Were we doing a show? Yeah. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. Let me get back into my professor role as the dean, and sometimes you get to peek under the hood, as you said, and you get to see what goes on in the background. So I thought I'd put that on the table just in case,
Understood.
I do write checks. My checks, they do not bounce. Just so people know. Charles, with that, as we move forward, we'll see if we can get Mr. John Gardner on and talk about what he thinks needs to be done in that. But let's move forward. Let's get into SWAC football honors. What do you got there in terms of what's going on?
Sure thing. Let's take a look.
Then I'll come back and ask you about the MEAC football honors.
Let's take a look at the SWAC as the Southwestern Athletic Conference is named. Alabama A&M's Donovan Eagle and Southern's Jason Dumas, and Alabama State's Nathaniel Eichner, and Florida A&M's Jeremy Musa as his SWAC football players of the week for their impressive performances this past week. Let's take a look on the offensive side. Donovan Eagle, he tallied 200-plus yards from scrimmage to go along with 3 touchdowns as Alabama A&M defeated Bethune-Cookman 35-27. He contributed 190 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 receptions for 12 yards and 1 touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, Jason Dumas, he was a key contributor for Southern this past weekend while helping the Jaguars claim a 59-3 win over UAPB. He tallied 5 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss to go with 1.5 sacks. Dumas also tallied quarterback hurries during the contest, in which SU helped UAPB to 3 total yards on 20 attempts. The specialist, Eichner, accounted for 10 of Alabama State's 16 points, 16 during their 16-13 win over Texas Southern. He connected on field goals of 27, 31, and 42 yards. The 42-yard Dr. Beal was his longest. And, of course, the newcomer of the week, Jeremy Musa, he led the Rattlers to a 34-7 win over Mississippi Valley on Saturday, finishing with 26 completions for 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. The win gave the Rattlers the 13th straight win at Bragg Stadium. They brag different over there, Doc.
Yeah, they bragging well right now with 13 in a row. Shout out to Jason Dumas. Man, that's a bad boy. I seen him all last year. Eating up. He sound like he back in Southern. Should make interesting when you get those top 10 matchups. Did I share a little something? We'll talk about that in the second quarter in terms of the poll rankings and see what you and Brandon think. With that, Brandon, give us some MEAC football weekly honors.
All right, we've got the MEAC here. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. All right, up first, we've got Morgan State graduate quarterback Carson Baker was named the MEAC Football Offensive Player of the Year. The conference announced, of course, the Delaware State senior defensive lineman. I cannot talk today. Isaiah Williams, Defensive Player of the Week, and the Hornets Coleon Williams, I want to make sure I pronounce that right, Rookie of the Week. A very busy week for Delaware State with punter Matt Knoll was named Specialist of the Week. Baker, a 6'3", 200-pound quarterback, the grad student, threw for 3 touchdown passes in the first half of the 44-10 win over Virginia University at Lynchburg for 160 yards, averaging 16 yards per completion, and leading a Morgan State offense that posted 364 yards, including 249 through the air. Mr. Williams was a defensive force in the backfield for the Hornets, registering 2 sacks and a quarterback hurry in the win over Robert Morris. He had 4 total stops, including 3 solo efforts against the Colonials. Williams here shined on special teams for the Hornets against Robert Morris, recovering a muffed punt in the end zone for what ended up the game-winning touchdown in the third quarter. He also had a pair of pass breakups on defense, while Matt Knoll averaged 43.6 yards on 11 punts. Busy day for him against Robert Morris, including 3 boots of more than 50 yards, with the longest of 64 yards, and 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. I might need glasses.
It happens. But yes, Delaware State representing well. And that's what happens when you get the dub against another FCS program, 14-9 for those that hadn't heard of Delaware State beating up a Robert Morris. Besides them, Morgan State did get it done, but it's against Virginia Lynchburg, and it seems like everybody is having a party with Virginia Lynchburg. With that being said, prayers to the young man, quarterback for Virginia Lynchburg, as I'm understanding that he tore his knee, so he's out for extended play at a time. A talented young man. Hope that he gets well. With that being said, we're going to get into our first break and do that. Before we do that, shout out to Lennon. He said, good evening. I'm ready for class repping my Norfolk State University Spartans. Hashtag behold the green and gold. I see you. Hashtag Spartan Nation. Ron Wallace. Hello, folks. Checking in for Monroe. Ron says Orlando, Florida, checking in. Ron is talking about hashtag Hell Wildcats. Big matchup against Tennessee State. Let's see if we can teach Brandon a little bit about Bethune-Cookman and the SWAC. Troy Lamont Coleman says Big South leading the Aggies in the house. I see that. Laugh out loud. Yeah, y'all got it done. Emma Price, hello from Daytona Beach in the lab after a great visit to Dallas and the State Fair Classic. Sounds like G. Boom Holly has his cigar out and still smoking one. Amos Fawcett, I think I saw Mike Washington looking for his wallet in El Segundo. Yes, I believe you're correct. Chad Cooper, good evening, professors. Hopefully SU is back in your poll. Let's see. We'll be right back with that. Chuck Hunt says Lane College has become my heroes in football. They defeated Goliath for HBCUs. Tennessee State. Brandon, I think people make sure that you are welcome in here, right? You're still getting more hazed. I don't understand it. This is a non-hazing show. We apologize. We just want to make sure you understand. Okay, I was wondering why. Now it makes sense with that insight. Yeah, I'm going to give you the significant insight when we get those kind of news, especially from institutions that I work with. Good evening. Let's go Braves. What happened at TV? Fired AD? We're not going to use those kind of terms, but yes, he is going in a different direction. Edwin D. Moore can respect addressing your issues internally until it is obvious change is needed to address it. Appreciate that. That's I was taught how I get it done. Shout out to George Suggs, Ricky Burton, Jerome G. Sutton, Cy Baker. Jerome, we're going to see what happened in the band marching sport this week. Appreciate you always giving me insight. Good evening, Dean, Professors Bishop, and guest professor Adjunct King. With that being said, let's go to our first break. We'll be right back with the poll rankings. Should be good. Stick with us. We'll see who's in the top 10, top 5.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody
Network.
they can follow their dreams.
Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody.
Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
I did want to give a shout out, Big South announcers, football players of the week. North Carolina A&T defensive back Karen Prunty is the defensive player of the week for games played in fifth week, as he got it done with 2 key interceptions, added 3 tackles, 2 solos. In the Aggies 24-13 Big South opening win over Bryant as they get it done. You heard some of our Aggie fans out there talking about they in first place as they open Big South play. Be interesting to continue to see how they look. Let's get into the mid-major poll rankings with top 10 programs. Let's get who dropped out of the polls this week. Savannah State Tigers 2-3, 1-2. They dropped out of the poll rankings this week, receiving some votes as we get into it, if you would. Lincoln, Pennsylvania Lions 2-2 on the season. Savannah State Tigers, although they dropped out, they're still receiving some votes, but didn't make it into the top 10. Obviously, West Virginia State Yellow Jackets as well, as they are with 4 points, 3-2 on the season. Let's get into the top 10, starting with Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 3-2, 2-0. They remain at number 10. Bringing us to number 9, we have the Lane Dragons, 3-2. They were not ranked last week, and they dropped into the top 10. We know by now it did help that they got the big, quote-unquote, upset victory in overtime, as they went for 2, and they got it twice. With that being said, at number 8, you got the Bowie State Bulldogs, 3-2, 2-1, 21 points. Ranked number 8. Bringing us to number 7. Fayetteville State Broncos, 3-2, 2-1, 40 points. They remain in number 7. We do have a change as we get into number 6. Fort Valley State Wildcats dropped out of the top 5 with their loss. They're 4-1, 1-1 on the season. Let's get in the top 5. Virginia State Trojans jump into the top 5. They move from 6 into 5, 4-1, 3-0, which creates some big-time matchups this weekend. As you have Dr. Henry Frazier III taking on his alma mater, the Bowie State Bulldogs, which is a top 10 team. So top 10 matchups should be interesting there. Bringing us to number 4, Albany State Golden Rams, 4-1, 2-0 on the season. 2 first-place votes as they continue to get it done, 72. They stay at 4. Bringing us to number 3, Benedict Tigers, 4-0 on the season, 3-0, playing some good football, taking down Fort Valley State. One of the reasons they dropped slightly there with their loss to Benedict, too. Surprising some people on this year, but they're rolling. Number 2, Langston Lions, 5-0, 4-0 as a NIA program, the only NIA program in the top 10, but they're representing well at number 2 with 2 first-place votes and 92 points. Bringing us to number 1, Virginia Union Panthers. They just continue to rack up the points in the end zone, so they rack up the undefeated season thus far, 5-0, 3-0 in conference play, 4 first-place votes, 91 points. Let me go to the guest. Let me go to the guest first. Adjunct Professor King, tell me, what do you think about the top 10 poll rankings? Now, let me make sure you understand this. Before you, if you want to get invited back, you might want to consider that. No, I'm just kidding. Tell us what you think.
Well, other than, I guess Lane should probably be much higher considering the team that they. But no, I actually don't have too much of an issue with it. I might have dropped Fort Valley maybe down to 7th. When you get donkey kicked like that on home,
that's a good one.
But definitely, I would say outside of that, obviously, when you look at the top 5, Virginia State, Albany State, Benedict, who is playing some really good football, and I don't think is getting quite enough attention, considering how well that they're playing. Langston is playing great as well, and of course Virginia Union.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Let me tell you something. I watched this video when someone faked to skip school, and she got grounded.
We all have kids. We've been there before.
This is live.
Oh,
yes.
Hi.
Say hi. Say hello. Go
Say hello.
Go. Sorry about that. That's right. Junior. But like I said, outside of that, I think the rest of the list is pretty solid. Other than that Lane thing, I think I'm good on that.
All right, no problem. Go ahead. Charles, go ahead and let me get your thoughts on the top 10 mid-major, as Brandon is being a father, a good father at that. Good job there. Charles, tell us what you think in the top 10.
Yeah, if not for Fort Valley's their lone loss, I probably would have dropped them a little lower, but I think I voted kind of the same way this week, Dr. Cavil. I mean, it looks about right, especially with Lane jumping in there. What I keep looking at is the first place votes, and I'm wondering if Langston and Virginia Union, they continue on this trajectory here. Will Langston have enough, to kind of overtake Virginia Union at some point? But that win over Valdosta State, that just goes such a long way. But keep an eye out for Langston. I mean, especially the performances that Larry Harrington is putting up week in, week out. I mean, this past week he had 4 touchdown passes. He was in the top 5 of all quarterbacks in HBCUs, 15 to 21, 263 yards. So those Langston Lions, all they do is just win. Quentin Morgan, his guys, just keep winning week after week after week.
Great points that made by both of you, and it'd be interesting when you talk about Benedict and Albany. They'll get to play each other, so somebody's probably going to be able to earn some points there. But it's going to be fascinating, like you said, who gets to own these points as things get going. Can these teams kind of run the table? You have the ability with at least 3 of these undefeated teams. Theoretically, all of them can stay undefeated all the way through the regular season at least. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like and how things change up when you get some of these matchups like we have coming in, some top 10 matchups. What else you got there, Charles?
Stephen Gaither just comes in right on cue. Respect the CIAA. I'm respecting the CIAA. I'm just saying, keep an eye on Langston. That's all.
Yes, he's gonna let you know about the CIAA. He's still having some problems with the fact that Winston-Salem State didn't have a homecoming. So that kind of has that move where you're gonna be talking about respect this, respect that, respect my G. All those kind of things. Did I say the G? Oh, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's a whole
In fact, let's get into the major division as we get going. Before we prolong this, let's get into major division, see what you think there. Dropping out this week, South Carolina State Bulldogs. They fall out of the top 10, 1-3, and then they got a big matchup this weekend. It's looking tough. The Bulldogs going to have to turn that curve or they might not be able to turn it like they did last year. They still have, obviously, conference play, so that may make a difference. Arkansas Pine Bluff started out top 10. That's why I say it's a week-to-week league. You play yourself in, you can play yourself out. And at this part, they played themselves out. Injuries are not helping. But receiving votes, South Carolina State is receiving votes at 1 and 3. They still have people that think that they'll find a way to right the ship. We'll see if that makes sense. Morgan State Bears are getting votes now, 2 and 2 on the season. Got their wins. They get a chance with a conference game against Norfolk State to maybe take another step forward. We'll see what that looks like. Let's get in the top 10. Southern Jaguars, with the big win, they jumped in the top 10. We're not ranked last weekend, so it should be fascinating to see what that looks like. Southern Jaguars are there. Number 9, North Carolina A&T State Aggies, 2 and 3 with their conference win, 1 and 0 in conference with 19 points. They also jumped up in the debut this week, at least in terms of not being ranked previous week, and they're in the top 10. Bringing us number 8, Alabama State Hornets, as they get it out of Houston with a victory. Tough one, 16-13, but they get it done, 3 and 2. 1 and 1 in the conference race, 21 points. They move up one spot from number 9 last weekend. And number 7, Hampton Pirates, 3 and 1 on the season, 0 and 1. Quietly surprising a lot of folks. So at least what they've done in the early part of this season, 49 points. They previously were 6, so they do drop one spot after a loss, taking off a week. They get in the conference play again. This is one of the conference games that they have a chance of winning in terms of at least what records. We'll see what that looks like maybe later. And number 6, Delaware State Hornets, 3 and 2 on the season, 54 points. They move up a spot as they get a big win in their non-conference victory. Can't get quite in the top 5, but they're there. Bring us to number 5, North Carolina Central, previous ranked 2. They fall 3 spots, 4 and 1 on the season. Bringing us to number 4, Florida A&M Rattlers, 3 and 2, 2 and 1. 92 points, previous ranked 5. They slide up a spot as they continue to win at home, as was stated earlier. Number 3, Alcorn State Braves, 2 and 2 on the season, 1 and 0. They were off, but they still move up a spot with 93 points. Bringing us to number 2, Prairie View A&M Panthers, 3 and 2, 3 and 0 on the season, 97 points. They go up in the State Fair Classic, get it done against Grambling in that matchup, which means this weekend at home, they have a top 10 matchup as they face a number 10 Southern team, so it'll be interesting to see what that means for the Western Division. Bringing us to number 1, Jackson State Tigers, 4-0, 2-0. They have all 12. You were talking about first place votes in the mid-major. You don't have that question over here in the major division. All those first place votes goes to Jackson. 120 points. Didn't even play, but because of other things that happened, they are number 1, and they receive all first place votes. Hate to see what they might do this weekend in terms of getting back into action and what kind of votes they can get if they continue to do on the trajectory they have. But that'll do it. That's the top 10 poll rankings. I'm going to start with Professor King, Brandon King, with this. Your thoughts on the major division poll rankings?
Well, looking at taking Jackson State out because, I mean, they've just been running through everybody with the exception of TSU like a buzzsaw. And they'll probably do that again this week. I really like the order. I'm pleasantly surprised with Prairie View and what they've been able to do, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Actually, I think Bubba McDowell is doing a good job with those guys. So that's going to be a team for me to watch going forward, I should say. I think Florida A&M, after, we don't need to talk about what happened down in Miami at the beginning of the season.
It's just something about FAMU. You want to twist that knife. It sounds like he has past memories of FAMU that he's not over yet. That's what I understand.
It's just a tad bit of Atlanta Classic bitterness. That's all. But outside, they've definitely picked it up, getting some wins over, some good teams, Albany State and a couple other things, and they seem to kind of turn the corner and have picked things up. And Central is actually a team to definitely keep a lookout on after, they kind of came into my radar when they beat A&T. And so they'll be a team that I'm going to continue to watch as we move forward. But looking at 6 through 10, I would agree. I don't have any issue with that because I want to be invited back. So I won't take this.
This is a smart brother. That's what you do, adjunct. See, you follow the rules first semester. Make sure you go from 1 class to 2 classes. That's how you do it. Great job, Charles. How do you think on the top 10 rank?
Here's my fight. Here's my fight, Dr. Bill, and just taking a look at it. And the loss to Campbell hurts, but I still, for Central, they still have, I believe, wins over A&T. And who else do they have wins over? New Hampshire.
Was it top 25 team?
Top 20. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure if I would have dropped them under Prairie View, Alcorn, and Fan. I might have just left them there at number 2 because I still think they're probably as good a team as any that we have with HBCUs. But the losses hurt. So.
Charles, it's like marching sport. You play to win the game. And it's certainly not good when you get donkey stomped. It doesn't mean that you can't come back and win the next weekend.
They took the Dusty
this
Rose
weekend,
elbow.
You get monkey stomped, you're going to fall. This ain't no hidden gem projection. Y'all keep doing projection. This is a week-to-week poll. You win, it helps you unless teams win alone, or if you win impressively. That might help you. And if you lose not very good, you're going to have some problems. So week-to-week, things happen. That's what takes place. We'll see. But nah, you can't just keep. I can see what you said. Maybe not as far, but you said keep them where they are. Nah, heck no.
Okay. I slide them just a little
You're lucky
bit,
that you're part of the show. You might not be invited back.
But here's what I got. Alabama State, Jackson State. That's going to be a huge one. I'm starting to read that there are only resale tickets left at Alabama State, so that place is going to be filled out. Yeah, homecoming this weekend, Jackson State, Alabama State. But then Jag Nation comes down 290 to take on Prairie View. Hey, it can't be a wine and cheese crowd this weekend, Prairie View, or they will take your stadium from you. I need you in the stands an hour and a half before kickoff. I need you welcoming the guys onto the field for warm-ups. I want you there when the band comes in. This is that type of weekend.
Well, according to Ruth Simmons in the dismissal, that won't be the problem because they'll be able to get in the gate.
There we go.
It'll be all right. It'll work out. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We'll be right back after this break. We'll get into the third quarter and give you some matchups. As the guys started talking about, we're going to get into some mid-major. We'll give you some other matchups, top 10 matchups, some of those conference matchups for this week. Huge week for the SWAC when you look at it, man. You're talking about 7 big-time games, all FCS Division I games, most of them in conference, and then you have some of those matchups where people are talking about expansion with Tennessee State and South Carolina State. If that was the case, this would be a showcase in terms of that. We'll talk about that maybe a little later on this week, but we'll get back into it. And I teased it out on Sunday, so if you didn't see it, you can go back and see that then. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Lack of social skills.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head and Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Let's get into some of these mid-major classics. The mid-major classic game of the week is a game that is moved to Birmingham. Last year they moved it. Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, SIAC Saturday, October the 8th, 7 o'clock, ESPN Plus. Morehouse Maroon Tigers 0-4, 0-1. Always a big matchup against a number 10 Tuskegee Golden Tigers that look re-insurgent, that actually have a winning record, 3-2 and 2-0 in the conference race. Interesting matchup between two rivals, or is this one where the ranked team is just going to find a way to get it done? Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the Maroon Tigers and the Golden Tigers?
Can the Maroon Tigers stop this two-head monster that Tuskegee has in the backfield, Tarian Taylor, this past week? He goes for over 200 yards on 26 carries. And then you also had Dante Edwards. He also went for 118 yards. Can Morehouse make some stops on defense? I don't think so. I think Tuskegee gets this in a runaway.
Yeah, I think this is the case with Tuskegee is getting back in the groove, and they're going to find a way to continue to get it right against Maroon Tigers. But let me go to Brandon. Brandon, what are your thoughts in terms of this SIAC matchup that happens to be a classic game? The Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, they've been playing it literally forever and ever.
I know it's a rivalry game, but you can pencil both backs in for Tuskegee for $150. And look, the fans that Morehouse can bring, they'll be leaving after halftime because I don't think it's going to be terribly close. I think Tuskegee cleans them up by at least 21.
Oh, he cut up. He come in on his first shot, acting tough, and telling folks really what he thinks. That's tough. He told them after halftime. They go see the bands and be like, all right.
Don't tell Kyle Mosley that.
Yeah, we're going back to Atlanta for the parties. They got better parties than Atlanta. We out. Savannah, Georgia. Going back to Georgia, as they say, Theodore A. Rice Stadium. Homecoming. Yeah, it is that time of the year. Independent SIAC matchup. October 8th, Virginia Lynchburg. They seem to be everybody's homecoming, or at least everybody's non-conference game. 0-5 on the season at Savannah State Tigers, 2-2, 1-1. That Savannah State Tigers had to move a game to Sunday because of the hurricane, Ivan. And quietly, probably surprised some folks because they lost. And so many people thought they would be coming in this week 3-1, but no, they're 2-2. We saw how that dropped them in the poll rankings. But can they get right against Virginia Lynchburg? Brandon, what do you think about this little matchup here? Independent, give us some independent love. Virginia Lynchburg, is it worth it, or are they just gonna hang around for a little bit?
I would like to, and let me respectfully, hey, I appreciate the athletes at Virginia Lynchburg. I know y'all work hard, you put in your time, but this is going to be the best remedy for a loss for Savannah State is seeing them come in. And especially they look across the state to see what can happen to Fort Valley on homecoming, and that's not true. So especially coming off a loss, I know they're going to come in focused, and this one will not be competitive for very long.
Man, that's some great points you make there. Charles, any disagreement? Are you aligned with Brandon in regards to what's going to happen at Savannah for their homecoming?
No disagreement whatsoever. The best tonic for a loss is seeing the Virginia Lynchburg Dragons come in for homecoming. That should be fun. People should be able to get to the parties a little bit early that game.
Well said, well said. Let's take our last break as we get in the fourth quarter. We'll come back with the major classic game of the week and major independent program. We'll be right back with that. Stickers will be right back after this break.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Lear with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. In our last segment with Brandon and Charles, let's get into some of these major division matchups. It's going to be SWAC intensive and heady. I told you about some of these games, but we're going to go with the SWAC in terms of the game where they play some teams outside of the conference. First, we're going to go with the Tennessee State homecoming matchup. Instead of a classic game, we got a homecoming game. There are no major division classic games this week. So we're going to take our fun to Nashville with the matchup with Tennessee State and give Brandon some love to talk about his alma mater and see if they can get that win as they host Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman's in town, and they're already in Nashville as they actually obviously played in Huntsville, Alabama. And because of Hurricane Ivan, instead of going back to campus and traveling, they're actually staying up there, and they went directly into Nashville. So they've been there a little while. I talked to the coach during the MEAC the SWAC media press conference and talked to him. And today, Brandon, I got to join you for the OVC to talk to Coach George and his thoughts in terms of the matchup. Interesting thoughts by coaches about being focused and trying to get that first win. What do you think? Tennessee State comes in 0-4, last game before they get into conference play in terms of the OVC. You played Bethune-Cookman 1-3, played pretty strong against Alabama A&M, but they let Alabama get their first win. Is this a case where they do it again, where they allow Tennessee State to get their first win of the season? What do you think about this matchup? Remember, some people are saying that this is supposed to be a SWAC East division, waiting on Tennessee State AD, Dr. Mickey Allen. I don't think that's what he wants to do, but I'm just saying that's what people are saying out there, that they should be joining the SWAC along with South Carolina State, which is just crazy. I told you I want Clark Atlanta. It's a whole different thing. But with that being said, non-conference matchup at this time. What are your thoughts?
Well, said from what Coach George said on the call today, in terms of trying to refocus and make sure that the team is that they haven't kind of wandered off with being 0-4. Here's what I think is going to happen, and this is, in my opinion, I know he said that Draylon Ellis and Devin Starling will be game time decision.
Right.
Ellis went out against that bloodbath against MTSU, and Starling didn't even play Saturday against Lang. But whoever it is, I think TSU is going to utilize. They're going to be run heavy, just because. In looking at the John Merritt, once Garnett threw that pick six right before the end of the half when TSU was driving down, it was clear not only did he get the hook, but even when Boone came in, we didn't throw the football a whole lot, which even though that, like I said, that did make them one-dimensional, they were still able to run for 226 yards. And so I think with Bethune giving up over 240 yards per game, they have actually given up over 200 yards in every game they've played except against Grambling, which they gave up 174. And Grambling only ran 30. They only attempted 36 rushes that game. Every other team Bethune has played has run the ball 40 times or more. So the formula is there on how to beat them, and I think that's what's going to happen. I'm cooking right now. I'm cooking now. And I think defensively, because with TSU, even though they're 0-4, all 0-4s are not created the same. And Coach George alluded to this earlier. A play literally against Eastern Washington. That game was not decided until the last two possessions of the game. Looking at the Southern Heritage, I would say from quarters 1 through 4 that TSU, and let me say this: if I make any future appearances, when I say TSU, I'm talking about the real. Shots fired. But.
He coming in hot there. I see you. Good breakdown. Let me cut you as you hot before you get any more trouble. Charles, save it.
So the $1 million question for me with Tennessee State is how will they look on the injury front? Because I think that was a huge factor when you talk about the quarterbacks going down versus Lane. Give credit to Lane though. That's a very impressive win. But it's got to be like Brandon said. It's got to be run heavy this weekend. You've got to utilize Rouse, Jalen Rouse. He has to have 25 plus touches in this game, and you've got to grind down this Bethune-Cookman defense. Like you said, they give up the yards via the ground game. But the X factor: which Jalen Jones do you get in this game? Do you get that Jalen Jones who went this past week for 353 yards and is always very dangerous with regards to pulling it down and taking off? He's a very, very fast quarterback. So it's going to be a test of contrast, if you will. Can Tennessee State make some plays on defense? I thought that I was very impressed with them defensively when they played Jackson State. Or, do we get this effort like we got this past week against Lane? So it's a tough call for me, but I'm going to go with Tennessee State just because their back is that much up against the wall this weekend.
Yep. Plus, they got that homecoming crowd. They should be in there pretty loud.
Very much so. You got
frustrated, but they're going to come in there with the HBCU, I think. So it'll be interesting to watch when you talk about that. I'm going to stay with you, Charles, in terms of this matchup. And then you have the fact that Bethune-Cookman's been on the road outside the game. Can they keep
I think that's big.
And they worry about that. I think that is something that's concerning. I know Coach wouldn't make an excuse, but I think that's tough. Let's stay with you, Charles, and stay in these non-conference matchups, if you would. This is a MEAC SWAC challenge. It used to be a MEAC conference game. You have number 4, Florida A&M Rattlers versus receiving votes, South Carolina State. Rattlers come in 3-2, 2-1. South Carolina State 1-3, 0. FAMU took care of the South Carolina State last year at home. And after that game, actually, South Carolina State seemed to kind of get refocused, and get it going. FAMU is getting a little more confidence. Obviously, they've won those games at home. Now they go on the road probably for their first big road trip in terms of enemy territory. It's fascinating to see all the subplots in this matchup. What does it mean for you? Where do you see this matchup going?
Both. I think FAMU is trending in the right direction. After taking it early big elbow up against Jackson State. They've quietly been, laying in the weeds and been getting better week to week. And Jeremy Musa has found a target in Xavier Smith. Xavier Smith this past week.
He hot, man.
Yeah, he hot. 13 receptions, 128 yards. So, question for me: can South Carolina State kind of put a kibosh on that little connection with those two? I think it's going to be real tough, but South Carolina State, I like them at home, man. I really do think they're one of those teams. They've taken all the bumps and bruises early in September, and they're ready to show you who they really are now. Now it's time to be scared of South Carolina State. I got them with the win at home. Is Kendra Flowers going to play this game? That's the big question for me because I think that they can get some things going on the ground.
Man, Charles ain't got no love for the SWAC this week. I don't know if it's just he wants a rematch. Won't South Carolina State get well because he wants to see them in the Celebration Bowl so he get a little that sweet nectar revenge as they talk about, or is it something else? I'm just saying.
Gotta get there first. Gotta get there. Still long season.
Boy, it must be nice when you're at the #1 ranked team, all 12 votes, undefeated. Yeah, let's get there first. Anybody say anything about their team and what they're going to do, he get the funny looking face. But now all of a sudden, yeah, let's get there first. Yeah, whatever. Go on to you, Brandon. FAMU, like you said, you used to watching this team in terms of a rivalry many times over back in your heydays. Now they're in the SWAC, outside of the MEAC, but they come back home to some degree, go on the road. This is a place they previously had many problems with. I finally got a victory a couple of years ago, and then they got it done at home in terms of get that monkey off the back, if you would. Can they keep it going with FAMU, Willie Simmons, or will Coach Pugh did like he did last year and kind of find a place to turn it? And this is one where he wants it. A lot of this is about Corey Fields, the quarterback player. A lot of people kind of question that. I know Charles talked about Flowers running back, what you've seen with Tennessee State and coming those injuries. Where are you going with this matchup for yourself?
I think it's also going to come down to if South Carolina State can generate any sort of pressure on Musa to try to break up that connection that he has with Xavier Smith. I definitely think if they can get to him and make him a little bit uncomfortable, throw off some of that timing, that's definitely will play well in their favor. If Fields can be accurate and not turn the football over, I think there's a good chance.
What Corey Fields do you get? Yeah.
So it's ultimately going to come down to that. Man, I'm kind of with Charles on this one. It's tough, trying to pick which one of these. I'm going to go FAMU. I think it's going to be similar to last year. Now, next week, South Carolina State, they'll have a mind right. But I think the FAMU will make just enough plays to pull this one out. It'll be a close one. But I think they make it out of Orangeburg with the win.
I like it. Great information. Brandon, again, doing work for HBCU Go. Talk a little bit more about what are you doing for HBCU Go and where folks can get more information on what you're getting done.
Primarily what I've been doing is game previews. As you know, we've got a slate of 11 games that they'll show live on there. So usually I'll do a preview that comes out Monday or Tuesday. We've actually had a little bit of web issues, so they haven't been out lately. So we're still trying to work our way through that. So once we get that situation solved, I'll definitely let everybody know so they can head over there to hbcugo.com and check out what we've got going on over there as well.
So how did you enjoy your first time in the lab?
I'd like to think I made it through relatively unscathed.
Pretty good. Yes, you did. I think you did. All right. Charles, what you think?
Oh, yeah, he can come on back. I like Brandon.
With that, we'll call it a close. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. While I got you for a minute, Charles Bishop, just give you that one tease and plug. You going to Alabama State in terms of the pregame show?
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Have you been in the new stadium?
No, I've never been to the new stadium. I've spent many years going to the Crampton Bowl, but this will be a cool experience, getting opportunity to experience this Alabama State atmosphere on their home campus there. So looking forward to it and get a chance to see Coach Robinson again. He asked me, was I still riding my bike? You know, we used to ride bikes when he was over here in Houston. So he knows all the trails over here in Houston. Good guy.
No doubt about it. Sound like you hate to do them like this, but I hear you talking all that. You said all the tickets are sold basically only in resale market?
I'm starting to read that it's only a resale market left for this game. Going to be a huge one. You got a number 1 team going against number 8, according to Dr. Gill's poll. So anytime you got a ranked matchup,
at home too for home.
At home, and really, you can make an argument that you take control of the SWAC East this weekend.
Oh yeah, great point. Great point. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday to give you some more breakdown. We'll go into the CIAA, SIAC, SWAC, and MEAC matchups. We start MEAC conference games next week. We have one on the ledger, Morgan State, and it'll be interesting with Coach Damon Wilson for his inaugural game actually in the MEAC, and he faces up with Norfolk State. It's been struggling. So you're talking about maybe getting a great chance. And it's at home. It's homecoming. We'll talk a little bit about that. With that, again, we thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab. And I should say on Thursday, follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Randy? This is where you're supposed to say lecture.
Lecture.
Dismiss. You did so well, I wanted to give you a little cheat code.